The council meeting will come to order, and if you will please rise and give your attention to Deputy Mayor EVERHART for the invocation and be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you. If you'd all just join me in a moment of silence. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance Well, this is a major weekend in the world of business and the economy. And as many of you know, that there is now a movement in the last few years to celebrate small business and shopping local. And actually, to the extent that it's now organized enough that communities are issuing proclamations in support of it. And I have here a proclamation. I just want to say the people here are Becky Dickinson of Brookwood Shopping Center, and I know Edie Smith from downtown Topeka. And we have a proclamation that we have another person. Will you come up and join us? This is Carol Castle, also has a business downtown. Okay, we have a proclamation here. Whereas the city of Topeka celebrates our local small businesses and the contributions they make to our local economy and community, and whereas 87% of consumers in the United States agree that small businesses are critical to the overall economic health of the United States, and whereas 93% of consumers in the United States agree that it is important to support the small businesses they value in their community, and whereas Topeka has a thriving small business community that offers almost anything a consumer would need, creates jobs, boosts the local economy, and preserves our neighborhoods, and whereas advocacy groups, as well as public and private organizations across the country, have endorsed the Saturday after Thanksgiving as Small Business Day. Now, therefore, I, Larry Wolgast, Mayor of Topeka, do hereby proclaim November 29, 2014 as Small Business Saturday and urge the residents of our community to support small businesses and merchants. And Carol, will you comment?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I would encourage everybody to get out and support small business. I've been following some strings online that show me that there's a lot of people that are thinking they're going to do a lot of their shopping locally, and so things like Small Business Saturday sort of put that in mind. So it's a great effort on the part of American Express for one, but on organizing that and growing that year after year. We appreciate the proclamation.
Thank you. We know this is an important weekend and wish you success, and everyone be sure to actually have a button here that says Shop Small, to go to the small businesses, the local merchants, and support them as much as we can. Tonight we do have presentations, so Mr. City Manager, if you would like to introduce those.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Our first of two presentations is an update on Heartland Visioning. Many changes have occurred at Heartland Visioning to start with their new director, John Hunter, and Mr. Hunter is here this evening to provide some information.
Mr. Hunter.
Thank you, and good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, Mr. Colson, and others. Appreciate the opportunity to stand here before you tonight. I was told I should try to keep it 5 to 7 minutes. For those of you who know me, that's tight. but we'll work on that. Also, I have some notes here, but I'm staring at a screen saying, ready for snow. So if I slip from my notes into a weather report, you'll forgive me, because that's what I'm looking at here. No, given the time, I didn't want to come with PowerPoints tonight. I don't have any charts or graphs. What I wanted to do is just talk to you for a moment. Just talk to you. You know me. You know the work that Anita Walgast and I have done over the last 5 years in the development of NOTO. Some of you I worked with closely, and you remember the work that we did on the TPAC project, or going over to the Great Overland Station. So what I'm asking you tonight is to trust me. And trust me when I tell you that Heartland Visioning, which is a 20-year process going on in this city since 2009, Heartland Visioning is well organized, it is healthy, and it is a well-functioning organization that you should all be proud of. It is filled with, right now, 65-plus individuals who come together on a Friday morning at 7:30. We have a series of priorities that we've established because of our engagement with the community. And we are working on the essentials that deal with economic development and quality of life issues for our city. So how do we define Heartland Visioning? Well, in a way, we are a convening organization. What do I mean by that? Well, I can tell you every week, every day, I spend a lot of time on the phone. I bring together people from the city, from the public and private sectors. We bring them from Shawnee County Parks and Recreation. We get Mr. Colson on the phone. We send them emails. We try to set up meetings for the purpose of getting together and discussing some important issues that we as an organization, and responding as a voice of our community, we have concerns and we want them addressed. And those, of course, are expressed in our priorities. And I think many of you remember I've sent you a number of emails over the last couple of months trying to give you some updates on exactly what our priorities are for 2014 through 16. And they're exciting. And the work that's being done is really good work. So we are involved in community engagement. What does that mean? Well, I give 2 to 3 presentations monthly. We have our major meeting. We have leaders from the community who are there with us at our steering committee meetings, who then go out and talk about the work of Heartland Visioning. We have a superb management committee led by Gina Millsap, who is out there talking about what's going on with Heartland Visioning. Now, are we getting to all of your districts the way we should? Are we in every part of the city? Well, I can tell you we try. We have the right attitude about wanting to get out there and listen to the people, and then bring those ideas forward and see how they fit with the current priorities, and see whether or not over time our priorities might change, so we can continue to address the needs of the individuals in our community when it deals with economic development, quality of life issues. And again, we like to consider ourselves as a voice of the community, and I don't know of any other organization, and I've been here since 1975, I don't know of any other organization that has dedicated itself to that type of a process. So we are very, very excited about what that involvement means. But here's something that I ask you all to understand. And I think Mr. Colson would understand this really well. Visioning takes time, just like changes in a city take time. Visioning is complex because we deal with change. We deal with change, and we deal with change on a large scale. Look what we're doing downtown. It took 5 years for NOTO. It's taking many more for the riverfront development because of the involvement of our federal government. And yet, behind these projects are individuals who are volunteering their time. Why? Because they think it's important. Back in 2008, when we did our community meetings, 5,000 people had a voice. And what we were looking at, we had no economic development going on in our city. We couldn't hold on to our young people. We were an aging population. We didn't trust each other a lot, and there wasn't a lot of hope for our future. Well, I'm here to say I think that has changed. And I think the 65 plus other people that are involved in Heartland Visioning and the people that I talk to all around this good city are beginning to recognize. And more importantly, because when you deal with change, and it's as complex as it is, I mean, you don't get one big project started without having a change order immediately following a week later after you've broken ground for something. These are things that are complex, and you have to be adaptable as you're going through the process. It's a requirement of dealing with change. But what we heard so many times over the last year is when we go out and talk with people and it's, well, what are you doing for us? Where is that? Why didn't you do that already? And then it takes time. It says, you know, just to turn the first shovel in downtown took almost 3 years of preparation of engineering and architectural drawings. I can tell you Noto took 2 years in the development before we brought the first artist into the district. And again, the riverfront development, this takes incredible amount of time and complexity when dealing with the Water Resource Act and the Army Corps of Engineers. And even the park on the north side of the river that we're talking about today. Back in 2002, 08, 2009, what did we have? We had Shawnee County Parks and Recreation, we had Topeka Parks and Recreation. So since that time, we've brought them together. John Knight has brought in a consultant, a master plan has been developed, but that master plan was just approved last month by Shawnee County Commission. Change takes time. So what we say to the citizens is that, yes, we are working for you, but please understand that to do the size and scale of the projects and the activities that we are involved in, it takes time. Now, we don't claim to be responsible for everything that's going on in the city. We're excited about some of the things, since, for instance, the Pine Ridge program, and Heartland Visioning was right there as one of the sponsors for the new learning trail that they have there. We're excited about what Sally Zeller and Barry Feaker are doing out at High Crest with the NetReach program. These are substantial things. And right now I can tell you, we had a recent meeting and the mayor attended, and we're looking at the fact that the health plan, the health chart for the city, which shows all sorts of wonderful blue coloring on the west and southwest side of town. But the one area, what we call the dynamic corridor from 10th Street all the way up to Gordon, that area is in red and pink and it's listed as critical by Bill Fiander in the planning department. So we ask our group, what can we do to change that from a red to a blue? And those are the kinds of things that we're working on. So, ladies and gentlemen, again, I just want to say, trust me. I think you know me. I've stood before not only this council, but other councils. We have great people involved in this process, and we are moving forward with some very, very important issues, again, dealing with economic development and quality of life issues. So on December 12th, 7:30 in the morning, you are all invited to join us out at Washburn Tech. We are in the lower level of the conference center. We're going to take our entire group and we're going to use them as a community engagement. So if you'd like to come join us, Councilman Hiller is with us. Mr. Brown has been with us. So if you'd like to come, we'd love to have you. If you can't make it, then send us the name of somebody from your district who's a real leader, somebody that you think would be really important that could speak for you as we use our time for a community engagement. And again, to look back at where we are with our priorities, how we're moving as an organization, and how we are doing what's important for quality of life and economic issues in this community. Thank you so very much. And the weather tomorrow is cloudy with a little bit of sunshine, so thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Hatter. Mr. Colson?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to ask Mr. Whitacre to provide an update on the snow plan for this year.
It's the second Friday.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor.
Hello.
Council. Tonight, we want to provide you with an update on our 2014 snow plan and just highlight some changes that we're making to try to improve. Start off with an objective that, our objective is to clear routes. Okay, she changed it on me. Clear routes in reasonable time to protect public safety and meet the needs of city residents. Our preparation details, just to let you know what we've done to behind the scenes to be ready, is we have 6,000 tons of roadway de-icer on hand. There are 14, and we'll give you the vehicles, we have 14 large dump trucks that we can put on the road with plows and spreaders. And then we have, we call them 10 pup trucks. They're more 2-ton or smaller trucks that we can put the smaller spreaders in to go into more tight areas, and also would use them to follow contractors into the neighborhoods on a deeper snow. And then, of course, you met some of them last week. We've got our award-winning operators from wastewater and street, and it is a 24/7 operation, so we run 2 12-hour shifts around the clock throughout the storm. Just some things that we do before the event. We have a weather service, so we are monitoring that weather service prior to it and getting alerts from them. And then once we know that, yes, we're going to go into a storm, then we alert staff, put our equipment operators on notice. Some other things we would do is we would go out and pre-treat bridges and the hill areas, our steep hill areas where we know we have some issues, with liquid de-icer if it's not raining. It does us no good. If it rains, it will just wash that liquid de-icer off. So that's why sometimes we do it, sometimes we don't, because the storm may call for precipitation ahead of the snow, and so there we just wait until the snow comes in, and then we'll go out and start our treatment. During the storm, we're doing, again, it's a 24/7 operation. We begin running the plows around 2 inches of snow or more, just depending on, again, it's the type of snow, and also do we have wind, so et cetera, that we might have drifting, et cetera. But one thing just to remember, during the storm itself, we are out on the streets just keeping the primary routes open. If we're having a heavy snow, we try to maintain 1 lane in each direction during the storm, because obviously we're not going to get ahead of it until it stops. And so we're just trying to keep as much passable as we can on the primary routes. Once the snow stops, and this is where I'll break it into two types of storm, is if it's an event that's 6 inches or fewer or less, then we would go out and basically run what was our normal plan, which is we go out, we plow all of the primary routes. Then we will do a secondary route, which is basically through a residential area. It's kind of that collector street that goes through a residential area, and utilizing our city trucks and equipment operators. Then we would go through the residential areas and treat with the salt, because in most cases that salt will melt that snow out of there just as fast as us trying to plow it, and it's already pretty well packed down. That takes total over about 72 hours. We're out about 36 hours trying to do the primaries, and then we would go into the neighborhoods to complete. So that's about a 3-day turnaround on those type of storms. Again, every storm is different. We were all geared for the big one we had here a week ago, and obviously had drivers on hand because they were still calling for 4 inches, and obviously sent them home at noon. But then had to bring them back in the middle of the night because we got a dusting that glazed everything up, so we had to come back in. We were maintaining with a couple of trucks, but had to call more in. So again, it's a fluid situation out there during the storm, and we just have to kind of keep on top of it. If the event, this is where I'll go through, just kind of give you the overview and then highlight what the changes are here. This is, if it's over 6 inches, the city manager and myself will be talking as far as, are we going into residential areas? And the answer will probably most times yes. Again, we may look at what's the weather for tomorrow. If it's going to be 50 tomorrow, we may not waste the effort. But if it's going to stay cold, then obviously we would go in. So we will send the city crews out and plow they will be responsible for plowing all the main arterial routes and primary routes. And this is where we're kind of changing. We are working with a vendor right now to set up a contract to bring in private contractors that would begin plowing within 6 hours after the snowstorm stops. That way we can control whether we need to bring them in or not. We know we've got a big enough storm that we need to go plow. They would go in and try to plow curb to curb, not going to be able to do that in all areas because obviously there will be a lot of cars, et cetera, in some of the residential areas. It's going to depend on the subdivision or the residential area. But the attempt will be at least to get 2 passable lanes, one each direction through on a subdivision street, or plow all the way to the curb if we can. After they're done plowing, because just like us with our plows, there's going to be a glaze or a couple of inches that's compacted down. We will come back in with our own city crews who should be getting the primaries clear, come back in over the top and go ahead and treat that snow. That way we can control our material costs in that situation. And also we've got the spreaders that can spread the material properly rather than just, like a lot of a vendor would not have. So basically, it's what we're changing new is you're getting set up with a private contractor. We would start, it's in the contract, to start within 6 hours after snowfall ending, and then they would work exclusively for the city. What we're looking at is to provide 25 trucks. We have 25 neighborhoods, and we would put a truck in a neighborhood and let them run a 24/7 operation. And what that would allow us to do is be able to clear those streets running concurrently. We should be able to handle a big storm, larger storm, and get everything cleared in 3 days, rather than the 7 to 6 to 8 that we ran last time. Obviously, the benefits of this is it's paid. We only pay for them only if the event occurs. So we're not expending any more. We're not going to be adding any additional asset costs. They will provide all the assets, fuel, insurance, everything, and drivers for that. So we only have to pay when we use them, and the city crews will be then focusing on the major routes and keeping all of them open for us and around the downtown area, et cetera. And then just to kind of cover, I know the downtown kind of gets confusing, and just kind of let you know what we're trying to manage in the downtown is, again, how we make a decision as to whether we're going to go to the hauling and loading and hauling, which you see we have to use snow blowers and large trucks. And in that last storm, I don't know, we had 30-some dump trucks running to try to get everything out of downtown. But if it's 4 to 6 inches and rising, we will then look at, again, are we going to have warming temperatures? Are we going to have cooling temperatures? If it's going to stay cold, then obviously it's not going to go anywhere, and we need to get it out. And if we plow, obviously we can't plow onto the sidewalks, because then all your businesses are all filled up with snow, and they have no place to then clear out. So we have to windrow it to the center. Could we leave it down the center? Yes and no. The real issue in leaving it down the center is there's too many left turns, and so then you've got to knock a hole through the pile. Every place there's some business or something that you've got to get through, plus at every intersection you've got to push it back to allow for left-hand turns. So basically, that's what we're looking at down there before we make that decision. We don't like to go down there and do that. It's a tedious operation to get all that equipment down there and then get all that snow out. So we try to only remove it when it's necessary. If we can treat and utilize salt treatment to melt it out, that's really the way we want to go. And then lastly, just some winter weather information we have under topeka.org/winter weather, and there we'll keep latest news, reminders for residents, the basic snow plan, and then an interactive snow map that actually shows, what routes for plowing, et cetera. So that concludes the presentation, and I can answer any questions.
We are certainly hopeful. We'll only have 4 inches or less, followed by 50-degree days throughout the
That would be
winter.
the best.
Are there questions, comments from council? Mrs. Ziller?
You did a good job right out of the chute, and that sounds good.
Okay,
So thank you.
thank you.
We appreciate it. Yeah, I think we'll stay tuned.
Yes,
right?
stay tuned, and every storm is different.
We'll see what
so-
happens. Well, that's all we can do. I'm sorry, Mrs. Ortiz.
That's okay. Hey, Doug, I just want to make sure, last year I was able to tell constituents that we're going to do the main streets first. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Or since we have these contractors, are we going to be able to do both, or are we?
Okay, let me, you keep,
Because I know last
Yes.
year, I was able to tell people, we're concentrating on the main streets, and then we'll go into the residential. So with us having these contractors, I just wanted to make sure I was telling them correctly.
When we use the contractors, they both will be working at the same time. So the intent to get the 3-day turnaround on clearing the streets, we will have our crews doing the mains and the primary routes. The contractors would go in and start on the residential routes almost within 6 hours after the storm stopping.
But we'll only use them if it's 6 inches or more?
Or more.
Okay.
If it is less than 6 inches, we will plow all the primaries and secondaries and go in and treat with salt the residential areas last, which again, we should still complete everything in about 3 days.
Okay, I just wanted to clear on that. Thank you, Mr.
Good,
Mayor.
good. Other questions or comments? Thank you very much.
Okay.
Appreciate it. Look forward to the winter. That completes the presentations. We will proceed with the roll call.
Mayor Wolgast,
Here.
Ms. Hiller. Here. Mr. Brown. Ms. Ortiz.
Here.
Ms. Everhart. Here. Ms. De La Isla.
Here?
Mr. MANSPEAKER.
Here.
Ms. Schwartz. Here. Mr. Schmidt. And Mr. Herman.
And Councilman Schmidt is out of town today and will not be able to be here this evening. And for the meeting this evening, we want to take pause to recognize there are no additions or deletions to the agenda, and there's no executive session. So that's a first for a few months, I believe. We'll proceed then with the consent agenda.
A is approval of a workers' compensation settlement for Beverly Hawley, Office Assistant 3, Topeka Police Department, in the amount of $40,000 for permanent partial impairments of her left ankle and right knee for injuries she suffered on February 6, 2008, walking into the law enforcement center in deep snow. B is minutes of the regular meeting of November 18, 2014, and there are no applications this evening.
Okay. Council members, Mr. Harmon
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd make a motion to approve the consent agenda as read.
and Ms. De La Isla seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor vote yes, opposed vote no.
We have 8 yes.
8 having voted yes, the consent agenda is approved as read. Proceeding then with the action items, the first is a public hearing and ordinance.
A is a public hearing to consider vacation request V14S1 by Gerald H. Graves and Kevin and Sarah Guesby, adjoining property owners to vacate the public street and alley rights-of-way located east of Southeast Cottage Road and approximately 250 feet north of Southeast 6th Avenue, City of Topeka, Shawnee County, Kansas. An ordinance introduced by City Manager Jim Colson relating to the vacation of public street and alley rights-of-way lying between Southeast Rice Road and Southeast Cottage Avenue and approximately 250 feet north of Southeast 6th Avenue in the City of Topeka, Shawnee County, Kansas.
Okay, this is both a public hearing and an ordinance. Mr. Colson?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Approval of this ordinance would allow a property owner to construct a single-family residence crossing over the alley that would be connecting to Cottage Avenue. I'd like to ask Mr. Fiander to present on this topic and answer
Okay.
any questions.
Okay, Mr. Fiander.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. Yes, as stated, the purpose of this vacation is to allow a single-family house to be constructed, which is currently on a half acre of property that's landlocked. Both the alley and the right-of-way will be vacated. The street itself is just a paper street. The alley is actually built. The alley will be privately maintained, so the city will not require maintenance of the alley if this is approved. All the property owners and public service providers have agreed to the vacation under 2 conditions. There is a retention of 2 specific easements, one for public utilities. There is a water line and also a sewer line within this public right-of-way. We also want to retain the alley easement for fire rescue and public service vehicles, trash vehicles, sanitation. So with those conditions, we are recommending approval, and we'd ask for a motion to approve the ordinance. I know the property owner is in the audience tonight if there are any questions.
Are there any questions for Mr. Fiander? Seeing none, thank you. We will then open the public hearing. I'm sorry, was there a question? I didn't. visual sight is not the best always.
That's all right.
This is
Mr.
Ortiz.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can you put that back up there, Susie? Was that Susie that took it out? What was the red? Is that the part being vacated?
Yes, let me explain that visual. The red hatching is where we would be vacating the street, it's a paper street, and retaining a public utility easement. I think there is a water line through that red hatching. The yellow, which also includes the red hatching, would be vacated, but that yellow indicates where we would have a fire and public service vehicle easement to be maintained.
And then my other question is, what is a paper street? I've never heard
Oh.
that term.
Councilmember Ortiz, a paper street
Is
is
it
one
paper?
that is a street only on paper. If you were to go out into the field, there is no actual street built.
Okay.
So it's a planned street that was never built.
Or in the plans for that area at one time, a street was, it was designed to be there, but it was never built.
Correct.
Something like that, yeah. Okay, we have some of those around.
We do.
When the design is made. Other questions? Seeing none, we will then open the public hearing. Is there anyone in attendance who wishes to speak on this item? Seeing none, we will then close the public hearing. And council, you have before you the ordinance. What is your pleasure? Mrs. Hiller?
Well, I'll move to approve the idea of a privately built new house and alley off our list and not building a street. Sounds like a
Good one.
pretty big win to
All
us.
right.
In East Topeka.
Deputy Mayor EVERHART seconds. Is there any discussion? All those in favor vote yes. Opposed vote no. I vote yes.
We have 9 yes.
9 having voted yes, the ordinance is approved. I don't believe there are applications, is
No,
that
there was
correct?
no
There are
applications
no
this
applications tonight, so we will proceed with the announcements. And the first item is the preliminary agenda for next week's meeting.
December 2nd, 2014 meeting, we have 3 board appointments for the Board of Building and Fire Appeals, 2 board appointments for the Board of Electrical Appeals, and 1 board appointment for the Topeka Landmarks Commission. We have an ordinance for the 2015 Downtown Business Improvement District Service Fee, a resolution declaring corporate limits and boundaries of the city. We have approval of the 2015 Special Alcohol Grant recommendations, a resolution for the Series 2014A Star Bonds, and a discussion for the Downtown Historic District, and another discussion for the 2015 legislative agenda.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Colson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving as we begin the holiday seasons. It, don't have to tell any of you, it's been a very challenging and busy time over the last several months, and I am looking forward to spending some time with my grandchildren and my wife, and so I hope you all have the chance to do the same. Not my grandchildren, not my wife.
Okay, thank you. We all have our own, we have to. Thank
You're more
you.
than welcome.
Thank you. I just want to say, along those lines, this has been a tumultuous week it is a tumultuous week for the nation. The decision last night in Ferguson was certainly a difficult one. And when things happen in a city, I think it's always cities relate to one another in how these things, what occurs, how it happens, what's the role of the city, and what do we do. And we certainly will keep in mind the difficulties being experienced in Ferguson, Missouri. And I think we also recognize and respect all those who have strong feelings on both sides. And everyone has their right to address their feelings, and we want to respect those in any way that we can. And then on the other aspect is on Thursday, as we gather with our families, I want to acknowledge the outstanding community that we live in with the community Thanksgiving dinner. Myron Johnson is the president of the foundation that puts this on. He's done this for a number of years fantastically. And we should have a question, and everyone guess how many meals? 3,000 meals they're planning to serve. But I think the important thing is 1,750 are home delivered, all by volunteers. So you have some idea of the amount of effort, planning, organization, and getting that many people involved to deliver meals is very significant, and I think speaks so highly of this community and what we do. And with that, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. I guess I would just echo what the mayor said and hope that everybody has a good holiday break and a safe holiday break. And to keep in mind those who are in need. And I do think it's wonderful what the city does with its meal. And there are a lot of other private organizations that do some assistance as well, but it's always good to, as we're enjoying our own holiday, to remember those who are in need. Thank you.
Councilwoman DeLisa.
Thank you, Mayor. Wanted to announce that I am working with staff on behalf of the Economic and Development, Development Committee, so that we should have a meeting before the year ends. The tentative agenda, just so that everybody is aware, is discussing the programs that we have. Also, we're talking about, we received a lot of feedback with regards to how the process could be improved upon. And we're starting to implement some of those comments where they belong. And finally, there was also a request for an appeal process. And I've been working to find different appeal processes across the state for different grant processes. And we have a tentative one that we will be sending out. So that is happening. In addition to that, I wanted to take the opportunity to tell everybody that there was a saying that shop small on Saturday. And I just want to encourage everybody to shop small every day. When you shop locally and you shop in small businesses, you support your neighbor. And small business is the backbone of our economy, and we cannot lose track of that. Not that we don't love the big businesses and everybody that's here. There's a lot of support for everybody, but there's certain places that are more visible, and I encourage you to shop local and shop small. And finally, to echo some of the sentiments of our mayor with regards to what's happening in Ferguson, I want to tell everybody that our prayers are with you. It's a very difficult time. There is no words that anybody can say to calm the agony that is occurring on many sides. Tragedies are tragedies. And what I would encourage the families that are out there is to remember to use caution and to try to solve things with words. We get so much more accomplished when we do so. So my prayers are all with you, and have a wonderful Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Councilman Manspeaker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just also would like to echo the Thanksgiving sentiment. I hope everybody has a lovely time with their family. I think we have 28 people coming to our house on Thursday, so if anybody has any place I can hide, I'd love it. I was really happy to see the announcement this afternoon that Captain Scott was put back to work at the Topeka Police Department. Captain Scott is a constituent of mine and a friend of mine, and this has been a very difficult issue for me. But there is something, a story about Captain Scott that I think speaks about our public employees that I haven't shared with very many people. I happened to be on the scene the night that Officers Atherley and Gogian were murdered at Huntoon Dillon's, and I was so on the scene that I was trapped inside of the police line, so I couldn't leave until they opened the line back up. And I watched a number of brass from the police department show up, survey the scene, get back in their car, and leave. I watched Captain Scott show up, walk around and hug every single person on the scene, ask them if they were okay, if they needed anything, before he went to work to figure out what was going on. And I think that he's an exceptional individual in terms of the work that he does for our city, but that shows the character of the individual that he is, that he cares more about the people that we deal with on a day-to-day basis, first and foremost, than everything else. So as someone who understands what it's like to have your integrity called into question in the newspaper, I hope Captain Scott can get back on top of the mountain, because he definitely deserves to be there. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Schwartz, Councilman Harmon.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Colson, before you got here, pardon me, this body entered into a contract with the county commissioners by which we gave the county our Parks and Rec assets and employees. As part of that contract, there was a clause that required the formation of a Shawnee County Parks and Rec Advisory Board. The purpose of the board was to provide citizen input and some oversight, and I believe each council member had the opportunity to appoint an individual to that advisory board. I have been advised by my representative that they used to have regular meetings, but they've only had one meeting since March, and no explanation has been given from the county. They simply get an email that the meeting's been canceled. Could you or have legal look into that and find out why that board is not meeting? Because the contract clearly stipulates that that board is to be a functioning board, and it doesn't seem to be functioning right now. Thank you. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Councilwoman Hiller.
I've got a couple of things. First, in the agenda that was listed for next week, the issue of voting on the Heartland Park Star bonds is coming up. There are at least a couple of us on the council that want to make an opportunity available to the public if people still have questions or concerns about that Heartland Park issue to come to a public meeting. We will be holding, Councilwoman Schwartz and Councilman Brown and I have been talking about it. We will call this up, it will be on Monday the 1st at 6 o'clock in the evening at Terry's Bar and Grill. Everybody's welcome to come. We will notice it up as a public meeting so everybody can come if they want to. You don't have to. But we want to give citizens a chance before that vote on the star bonds to, again, be able to ask questions. If they've got a better idea, we still need to hear it. We haven't yet. Specifics about what they think should be in the request for proposals. We've been advised as council that that's moving along. So we just want to let the public know now that there will be an opportunity before that vote on Tuesday night just to come. And we'll be there to listen, answer what we can, get back if for some reason we can't answer questions. Second item that I had is that the tragic fire that occurred this past week was in District 1 where Morgan Duncan, an 18-year-old beautiful young lady, lost her life. I ran into her sister Melissa and her mom Sherry yesterday, and the Sherry Duncan did own that home, but she did not have insurance raising those kids. And so Melissa, the sister, has put together a GoFundMe account, gofundme.com/Morgan Duncan. I have a couple of extras. I'm going to send this one down to the city clerk's office just so it's available. But if anybody knows somebody or would personally like to help out that family, they've lived, Sherry's owned that home for 13 years, been raising her family there. It is already, if you drive by, demolished. The fire was bad enough that they had to demolish part of the home just to get in to address the fire. So our thoughts and prayers go out to all of the Duncan family, and I just wanted to share this GoFund effort with all of you. And at the same time, let you know that I heard from Chief Bailey today and the fire department as part of the SAFE program that they told us about is going to go door knocking on Friday in that neighborhood and promote fire safety with the smoke detectors and so on. And Chief Bailey, I think that's just wonderful and really appreciate that effort. I wanted just to give a shout out to the advocates that wanted to do back-in parking and advocated it with the downtown parking group as well as downtown Topeka. It sounds like that idea didn't get a whole lot of traction, but we all have heard about it before. It's been very successful on Van Buren. So I wanted to give them a lot of credit for bringing that forward and taking a run at it. I hope people will still consider it. I think for safety and for fun, it's a good idea. But again, appreciate Andy Fry and Ralph Crummins and the people that did organize that effort. I too want to echo the sentiments of my colleagues about Ferguson. I think when those tragedies happen, it gives us all pause. I want to recognize too, there are some vigils going on, I believe as we speak, I think at least 2 here in Topeka, and appreciate the people that organize those and the people that are there And I'll just speak for myself, but if there are people in the community that would like to organize on a broader scale conversations to talk about how we can make sure that doesn't happen here, I'm quite sure that administrative staff would be supportive, and certainly I as a council person would be happy in terms of whether it's policing or the human relations dimension to the tragedy there. Certainly happy to engage. Those are thoughtful subjects as we come into this season, but makes Thanksgiving even a little sweeter. And so my regards to everybody for a happy Thanksgiving, and that's it.
Thank you. Councilman Brown?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, I'd like to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving also, and hope you enjoy your time with your friends and your family over these holidays. My thoughts and prayers go out to everyone in Ferguson. I appreciate Councilwoman Hiller's comments in regards to conversations that we might have in Topeka, and I'm certainly open to those too. If anybody in my district wants to contact me and talk about that issue. I'm also glad to see Captain Scott reinstated. I'm glad that issue's resolved. Last thing I wanted to bring up, and I like to plug programs, so this is another one. The City of Topeka has a volunteer partnership program, and it's that time of the year when we should be thinking of those in need. The City of Topeka's volunteer partnership program is an online service that matches groups or individuals needing assistance with residents who want to give back. This one-stop shop will connect individuals, families, groups, and corporations to fun and meaningful volunteer opportunities in Topeka. Topeka is a city with small-town values, with big city efficiencies. The volunteer partnership program is another example of people working together to keep our community strong. People of all ages can help make an immediate impact. So this program is targeted at bringing volunteers together with those in need. It could be something as fixing a shaky railing on an elderly lady's house. It could be anything. Shane Wilson is the contact for the city, and the program's listed online at topeka.org VPP. So, happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Councilwoman Ortiz?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to piggyback a little bit on the fires that we had that particular day. We had one in District 3 and District 1 almost simultaneously. And I would just like to challenge my colleagues to talk to people and ask them if they have a smoke detector, and you would be surprised that they don't. So continue to push that forward for the firefighters. I'd like to say happy Thanksgiving to everyone. And I'm thankful for a couple of things. I'm thankful for the mayor that took his little Cadillac last year and stacked it with tons of meals and was out there delivering. That's awesome. You know, I run into people that think just because we're up here, we think we're, higher or more sedity or whatever. I'm also thankful to the city manager and to Doug Whitacre. A month ago, my cousin was tragically killed. And I thought it was fitting. I'll try to get through this. He drove a snowplow. And some of the guys on his unit said this is a dream job. And I wanted you guys to hear that. It's not an easy job, but it was their dream job. And through his, he was tragically killed on the Sardu Bridge, and the city manager helped our family, his wife, Doug Whitacre, continue to make it easier, because it's been really tough for us. But to hear that it was a dream job did something to me when I heard those guys. And there were several of them there at the funeral, at the wake. Sometimes we don't give them enough credit. We holler because we can't get down that street or whatever, vice versa. But they will continue. They will continue to keep his memory alive, and they will continue to be out there, and they will continue to work hard to keep the streets clean. And again, our family is grateful for the extension, the love that you guys showered upon our family. We've done that with the police department. We've done that with the fire department. But just that little old fat guy that loved everybody, I just want to say thank you on behalf of the Munoz family. And let us not forget those guys that think that driving those big trucks up and down the city streets is a dream job. And that's what I'm thankful for. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody.
Thank you. Well, we have no one for public comment. We have no executive session, so there being no further business, the meeting is adjourned.
All right.